so you guys can refer back to this. Okay, welcome to the first Docusign webinar training, and this is actually the first webinar that Tucker has ever done, so I'm learning a little bit. Please bear with me. If you have questions, go ahead and type them in the chat window down here so that I can pay attention to those and answer those questions. Today is a demonstration. If you happen to have two computers, you could try to follow along, but really it's a demonstration training to remind you, for those of you that attended yesterday, this is a refresher, and for those of you that this is your first time, welcome. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And when you start your account, we're going to give you a broad overview of Docusign transaction rooms, Docusign, and zip forms. So first things first, you should have received two separate emails from me. One is your Docusign transaction rooms account activation, and one is your Docusign account activation. And so that you guys understand, I'm going to give you an overview of how these products work together. There is a deep integration in Docusign transaction rooms with Docusign and ZipForm. So ZipForm is your forms provider. For those of you who are newer agents, you may have not ever used ZipForms, but back over a year ago, this was the only solution that we had. This is provided by Indiana Association of Realtors. So a lot of the forms you're going to see inside ZipForms are directly from IAR, and then some are from FC Tucker, and some are from HMS Home Warranty. So ZipForms is the forms provider. Docusign is the e-signature platform. So this platform is what allows you to get your documents e-signatures. And then you have your Docusign transaction rooms platform, and this is where the real transaction management happens, is in Docusign transaction rooms, which we're going to call DTR for short moving forward. So in DTR, this is where you can submit documents for review, and this is where you can organize those documents. Now, that seems a little bit overwhelming, but here's the great news. You can do everything you need to do just by going to Docusign transaction rooms. And you will always get to Docusign transaction rooms by going to realestate.docusign.com. You can do that from your desktop, your laptop, your iPads, and your Surface Pros, and from your phone. So there are three separate apps for your phone: a ZipForm app, a Docusign app, and a DTR app. However, we're not recommending that you use those at this point. We are recommending that on any phone, you go to realestate.docusign.com in your phone's web browser, because again, you can do everything you need to do from this one area, this one platform. So we find that that is the best way to access your stuff mobily, and that's where you can edit your documents. So I'm going to give you an overview of DTR, and we're going to kind of go from right to left, and we're going to skip over transaction rooms for a second because that's the meat of it. So we're going to talk about getting your account up and running. Before you ever load a transaction, before you ever get in here and play around, you want to start in My Account, because you have to set up your integration with ZipForm and your integration with Docusign. If you skip this step, you will be extremely frustrated because you won't be able to do anything in here other than start a new transaction. You won't be able to get your forms. You won't be able to get things signed. So the first thing we're going to do is go to My Account, and we're going to click Settings. Here under your profile is where you can add your name and your email. You can add FC Tucker Company. You can add your Twitter handles. You do want to make sure that your time zone is set to Eastern. And then you can upload a photo and you can upload a logo. So I'm just going to save changes right now. To upload a photo, you just simply, it's just like attaching to an email, just like that. And then you can even add the logo if you want. The next option down over on the left is password, and this is where you can change your password if you need to. You also have contact information, so you can always add your contact information here. I do recommend going ahead and filling out your contact information. Notifications is a really important screen, and this is where you're going to set how much you want Docusign to fill up your email. Now, right now, I don't have a phone or a tablet connected to this account, so I can't click there. But if I choose email, you're going to want to start with all of these selected. But then once you get in here and start using it, if you find that there's a certain set of emails that's just cluttering up your inbox, you can come in here and change that. If you download the apps on your phone, you can have those notifications sent to the apps in your phone or on your tablet if you want. Okay. Inbox details. This, for those of you who use .loop, this is the email that you will use to forward documents that are in your email into Docusign transaction rooms. You can set this email to whatever you want. So for example, if I would have a hard time remembering Angie.42079, I might just go ahead and change this to Angela_Rab@mail.docusign.net. As long as it's not taken, it'll allow you to use it. If it's taken, you'll get a little red box that says somebody already has that email address. So this just might be a little bit easier for me to remember when I want to go ahead and forward something from my inbox into Docusign transaction rooms. I'm going to flip this over just to check for questions really quickly. And it does not look like I have questions yet. So awesome, guys. Okay, you also can get a fax number. And just like, you know, if you wanted to have an inbound fax come to you in .loop, if you give people this fax number, documents that they fax to you will appear up in your inbox up here. So those are two really good features that I love that you want to make sure that you have set up. Now this next Docusign e-signature settings, this is one of those critical steps that you do not want to miss. When you set up your Docusign account, make sure you know your email address, your username, and your password. So your username is probably your email address and your password. You are going to go ahead and I'm just going to unlink this really quickly so I can show you how to relink it. Okay, so this is what it looks like when you first enter this area. You want to go ahead and add in your email address that you used to set up your Docusign account, and then enter your password and click Save Changes. You'll get this green box up here that says that your accounts are now linked, and you'll always know if an account is linked or not. If you have if your account is linked, an email address will appear up here, but also down here, see how it says unlink this account? That means that you have linked an account. This is a critical step, so don't miss this step. And let me show you one more time how to get to that. So if you're in Docusign to start with, you're going to go to My Account, Settings, Docusign e-signature settings. Okay? So integrations, this is the second critical step, you guys. Second critical step. You have to link your zip forms. So again, you're going to go ahead and enter your username for zip forms and your zip form password, and then click Save Changes, and that will integrate your Docusign. I have one quick question. Does the fax number change each time you ask for one, or can that number be counted on as permanent? That fax number is your permanent Docusign fax number. So yes, it is a permanent number. You can change it if you want, like if you end up on somebody's spam filter or spam faxes, you can go in and change it. You can also change your Docusign email address at any time if somehow you end up on somebody's spam list. So connecting your Docusign e-signature settings and connecting your zip form account, again, I can't stress enough how critical that is. Tribus, we do not have to worry about. That's not something that our MLS uses. But down here, if you use Dropbox, Google Drive, OneDrive, or Box, you can connect those types of files as well. Okay, so that is my account. Any questions on my account? Awesome. Okay, so network is anybody in your office you will be able to see, or potentially the entire network. You can control that up here. My brokerage, my region, my office. Also, anybody you have ever worked with in Docusign will appear here. So if you start sending documents out to your sellers, they will appear here in your network. So that's just a nice handy way to do interbrokerage transactions. You have all of their contact information already. Okay, we're going to skip over transactions, but My Docs. This is your own personal, oh, I should turn that off down there. This is your own personal Dropbox, essentially. So I think you have 10 gigabytes of storage. Unlike .loop, in Docusign, it recognizes any any file type. So in this area, you can put Excel files, JPEGs, Word documents, anything you want. You can organize it by creating a folder. So we can just say purchase. You might have client care documents, something like that. You could put your listing flyers in here. Pretty much you can use this any way you want. You get one layer of folders. So you can't go into the purchase folder and add you cannot add another folder here. So you can't go into listing and add a folder. Okay. So we think that's going to be really useful for you guys. These documents are documents from your computer. So you would not put your transaction documents in this area. This is really those documents you want to access from anywhere, because again, you could access the documents from the phone, from your laptop, from your desktop, from your iPad or Surface Pro or anything like that. The only caveat with this is that there's not built-in editors. So you can put documents up here and you can pull them back down, but you can't like edit a Excel doc inside Docusign transaction rooms. But if you upload it as an Excel doc, it stays an Excel doc, and when you pull it down back to your computer or wherever, you'll be able to edit it there. You just can't edit it from within My Docs. Make sense, everybody? Questions on My Docs? Oh, I see a question. Okay, is the personal area seen by office admin or other users? That's a great question. It is not. I do not have, as the admin, nobody has access to My Docs except you. So you are the only one that can access that. In fact, if you called me and said, hey, Angela, can you look in my docs? I can't even look in there. I don't have access to it. So great question. Okay, inbox. Inbox is the area that you can receive documents from your email or your fax number. Now, there is a way to put a document directly into a transaction room. We'll talk about that in a minute, but this works in the exact same way that Dotloop did. So if you look over here, here is your email address, and let me pop in here and find a PDF to just forward in. Oh, our business planning PDFs, that's great. So if I hit forward and I'm in my email client, everybody, I paste that into my email, then these attachments will appear in my inbox, okay? Now, here's something that Dotloop could not do that I love. If, say I have a whole bunch of information in the body of my email, and I want to capture the actual email, what was said in the actual email. If I go ahead and edit the subject to pound PDF, it's going to capture this entire chain of emails and it's going to put it in the inbox for us. So I'm going to go ahead and send this, and hopefully I did it correctly. Here is one, here's one caveat to this area. Right now, but from the time that you forward that email to the time that it actually appears here can take up to 10 minutes. So it depends on the file size. It depends on a lot of different things if they're converting the file. But right now, that can take up to 10 minutes. Typically speaking, I think if you're forwarding a PDF, a small PDF in particular, like a counteroffer, that happens very quickly, but it has taken me up to 10 minutes. They are working on it diligently to get that time way down so that that stuff appears more quickly for us. But right now, it may not happen instantaneously. So keep that in your, at the top of your head. So we'll come back here later to check and see if that stuff uploaded, but that's the process. So again, all you're going to do is copy this email right here, and then if you have a PDF, like say you had a counteroffer, let me find a smaller one. Yeah, here's a check-in list. If you have a PDF, if you have an Excel file, if you have whatever, you're just going to forward it, copy that email address, and then send it. If you want to capture the body of the email as well, you're going to, in the subject line, just type pound PDF. And all of those will appear in your inbox, which then once they're in your inbox, you can move them wherever you want to move them, okay? Now your dashboard is a quick snapshot of what's going on. You have activity here and you have tasks. So a couple of things, you can see your recently viewed transactions. You can see your envelope activity. This is if people have signed or not. And you can see some document activity, what's been going on with the documents you've created. You also have this task area, and tasks are things you need to do for your transactions. So once we get into transaction rooms, we're going to go over that more in depth. But LCs who are on this call, tasks is where you will know what you need to do, what files you need to process. For LCs, notice over here, you can look at tasks, task lists, or transaction rooms. So this is going to be a personal preference. I foresee you guys using task lists most often, because if you approve a task list, all of the documents with that task list will then disappear because you've approved the task list. So keep that in mind. Okay. Any questions on My Account, Transactions, My Docs? I'm sorry, not Transactions. My Account, Network, My Docs, Inbox, or Dashboard? Any questions on that? Okay. So let's go ahead and dive into transactions. So when you click transactions, this is where you're going to manage your transactions. And you can see over here, you have active transactions, transactions that are under review, and transactions that you have closed. Now, let me be clear on the closed terminology. Closed in this system means that essentially either the deal has actually closed or it's fallen through in some way. And you can see like here, this is closed because the offer was rejected. This is closed because the property sold. So all of your closed will end up here, but a closed file is really, it doesn't mean it's sold. It means it's a file that you don't really need to see on a daily basis anymore. Okay, so to create a new transaction, you're going to click this new button right here, and you're going to fill in just some small details. And please let me remind you at this point that if you are doing a test transaction, please, please, please put the word test in the property address so that the LCs and the and accounting don't know that they know that they don't have to process that file as a real file. So for now, I'm just going to go ahead and put 821 Test Lane. I'm going to put in Carmel, Indiana 46032. And then you're going to select your role as real estate agent, and you're going to select a side. And in this case, we're going to do a listing, so a list side. Now you can throw a picture in here to help you remember which transaction this is. The pictures are really pretty and they look good and they're a nice reminder. So now you've created, I don't know why it keeps taking me to this, but it's annoying. Now you have created a transaction room. So when you go into your transaction room, I really don't know why that's happening. Okay. Let me check something out. When you go into your transaction room, let me go into my account and make Dropbox not an option. Okay. Okay. Stay. Awesome. Okay. So this is what it looks like when you create a transaction. First, you have a details page. You, just like .loop, if you can add stuff here, it will autofill into your document. So if you add stuff here, autofill to your document. Let me just say one thing though. If you want your document to fill out a whole bunch more, you're going to want to probably fill out the details page in Zip Form Plus. You'll get a better filling experience. They're working on making that better for us. But for right now, you would go to your Zip Forms account, and I'll show you in just a minute how you would fill out the details page there. Okay? Tasks are, later on, you're going to have tasks, and we're going to go over that in a minute. People are the people that are in the transaction. So you can see for me that right now, my LCs are in here, as are my branch managers, and that's it right now. So if I needed to add a seller, I would click add and invite via email. So I'm going to say good old Sally Seller is our seller. I'm going to select a role, which is seller, and select a side, which is list side. So that's how you would add your sellers. You do, in this version, have to add a seller before you send any documents out for signing. So you want to come in here and add your people as soon as you know. It will happen. You're going to go to send out a document for signatures and envelopes. You cannot add a seller there. You can only add a seller or a buyer or anybody you need to send documents to in people right now. Okay? And envelopes, we're going to go over that a little bit later, but for right now, let's go into documents. So right now, there's no documents here. We've got to go get them. So for a listing, you're going to click Add from Zip Forms. And it says, hey, you have to link a transaction for this to work into Zip Forms. So you're going to create a new transaction in Zip Forms while you're inside Docusign. So the name will be the address, it's a listing, and it's residential. What this does is this creates a transaction for you in Zip Forms. And so whatever documents you create in Docusign transaction rooms will then also appear in Zip Forms. Now, at first, I was a little hesitant about this. It seemed a little clunky, but what this is doing for you is giving you redundancy, which is actually pretty fantastic. Because what that means is, for whatever reason, say if Docusign goes down, you could just log into Zip Forms and have access to your documents, which I think is great. Because we all, for those of you who use .loop, I'm sure you remember when .loop went down, it was a tough day. So, you're going to go ahead and say you want, if you want to get documents from the zip form library, these are the zip form libraries that appear in Zip Forms. So for a new listing, we know that we need the affiliated business disclosure, we need the consumer handbook, we need a listing contract. We also need probably the utility usage. Those are in the FC Tucker library. So we're going to add those. And now we're going to go back in and we're going to get the documents that we need from the HMS library, which is the application. And then we're going to go back in one more time and just grab the seller's disclosure, which is in the IAR Res folder. Okay. So we are working on, with both Zip Forms and Docusign, being able to bring these over as a packet of documents. If that's something that you regularly do, you can still do that in Zip Forms if you choose. But if you choose to work in Docusign transaction rooms, you have to bring them over one at a time. Okay. Any questions on how to get documents in here so that you can fill them out? Can we add these packets to our My Docs folder and then bring them over as we do in a transaction? No, not right now. You cannot do that. The Zip Forms, when you are looking at fillable forms, they will always come from Zip Forms. But that, like I said, is something we're working on them with both Docusign transaction rooms and Zip Forms to be able to add to Docusign transaction rooms. We hope to see that within the next few months as a possibility inside Docusign transaction rooms. Okay? Okay, so where this says transaction docs right here, this area is your working area. And I'm calling it that because you're going to see we also have an area that is going to be your submission area. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. But in this transaction docs area, your working area, you can add folders down here. So you would just add a folder and you could say listing documents and create. You could add a folder. I highly suggest for every transaction you add a folder called junk or trash or archive, whatever you're more comfortable with, because that's going to keep this area, your working area, cleaner. Sorry. Now, there are two ways to view this area. You can see kind of the thumbnail version of the documents, or you can see this grid view. Now, if I wanted all of my listing docs to be in this listing document folder, all I have to do is drag the documents up, and then they will go into that folder. Make sense, everybody? Okay, I'm going to drag them back down, though, because I want to show you what this transaction docs is going to end up looking like. Okay. So we've got all of our documents, and let's say we're only going to fill out one of them, and it's going to be the affiliated business disclosure. So this is my working document. I would go in and I would fill it out. Sally Seller from Angela Rabb. And yep. Great. Okay. Now, I'm simply going to save this form at this point because I've got it filled out. If you don't hit save, you will lose your work. So that's why this box pops up, because it's saying, hey, make sure that you have saved. Otherwise, you're going to lose your work. So I hit continue. Now, I'm ready to send this affiliated business disclosure out for signatures. The way that you do that is you come over to envelopes. You're going to create an envelope, and I'm going to call it listing documents for right now. We're going to pretend like I'm sending them all, but I really only want to sign one right now. So I'm going to add the document that I want to sign, the affiliated business disclosure. And now I'm going to add my person. Now for this one, because I don't actually have a Sally Seller, I am going to go ahead and just send it to myself for signatures. And when you select sign, you would select sign if you need their signatures or you need them to fill out a text box of some sort. So signing is when they actually have to input something on the document. Acknowledge receipt means they have to open the document and actually look at it, but they don't necessarily have to sign anything. And receive a copy means just that, a copy. An email goes out to them that says, here's a copy of this document. They don't have to open it. It doesn't let you know if they opened it. So sign, acknowledge receipt, or receive a copy. We're going to go ahead and sign and hit save. Now you're going to come up here and hit this green next button once you're ready for this. You're going to go ahead and assign your roles. So for here, I'm going to give myself as Seller 1. And you're going to hit next. And you don't have to assign them if you don't want to, but we're going to go ahead and hit next. And now it says your document has been sealed. And this is where you're going to go ahead and add anything you need to. So like in zip forms, some of the things are already filled in for you. This knows you want a signature from the seller, so it's put it on there. But you can really drag any of these things over that you want. So you can add a data field, a checkbox, a radio button, all sorts of things. But for this instance, we're pretty ready. We think this is a good document ready to go, and we're going to send. So this knows that I'm Angie Rabb, so it's going to let me go ahead and sign it now. You can preview the document if you want, but Zip Forms is pretty good, so I'm just going to go ahead and send. Okay, so now we know that the document that we sent out has been sent for our client signatures. Let me hop into my Docusign account. Yeah. I'm pretending to be the seller right now. Here's the document I need to sign as the seller. All the seller has to do is hit start, come down here and click in the box and hit finish. So the seller experience could not be easier. Okay, so now I'm the list agent. I'm going to refresh. I might have to refresh a couple times. And now it says completed, which means that that document has come back to me signed. Now, if I hop back into my documents, I now have two versions of the affiliated business disclosure. This affiliated business disclosure that says ZFX is my working Zip Forms file. This PDF, which has now been flattened because it's been signed, can no longer be edited. Okay, so I have my working document and I have my signed document. This is where that junk folder can come in really handy, because now that I have my signed document, I might just move this into my archived folder so that I don't have to see it anymore because I've got my signed document. Makes sense so far, everybody? I shouldn't ask that question because you're not going to answer it, but do you have any questions on sending out documents for signatures? Is the seller's disclosure fillable by the seller? It currently is not. We have sent that fix to Zip Forms to make it fillable. And we hope to have that, a fillable version of the seller's disclosure, available in the next couple of weeks. So right this second, it is not fillable, but it will be. So hang tight on that. Any other questions on sending out a document for signatures? If you want to send out multiple documents, you can do that. So you would create more listing docs. Under this add section, you can select as many documents as you want. Okay. And then I'm going to click out of here. So that is a very easy way to send documents out for signatures. So we're going to pretend that all of these documents are now completely filled, that they're signed and ready to go. These are all set. We are now ready to submit this to the office for review. How we're going to do that is we're going to come over here to Actions, and we're going to attach a task list. And when we attach a task list, you'll have lots of choices. You have buy side and you have list side. Okay? Think of these task lists as kind of the folders we used in .loop. So when you're submitting a new listing, you're going to do the listing folder. When that listing pins, you're going to do the listing task list, sorry. When the listing pins, you're going to do the list side pending task list. When you're doing inspections and you're ready to submit those inspections to the office, list side inspection, and then closing documents will go in list side closing. So we're going to go ahead and attach this listing checklist. And what this does is this says these are the documents you need to submit to the office. Okay? You see there are some red and there are some gray. Red means that your listing coordinator needs to do something with the document. And that in order to submit this task list for review, you need to have this document attached. So some of you right now are going, but what if I don't need the lead-based paint? We're going to show you that in 1 second, how to get rid of that. So you can do these documents one of two ways. You can literally drag them and drop them, or you could click here and you'll get a list and you can attach or put the document there. So right now in this task list, these are placeholders. So you're replacing the placeholder with your document that is ready for review. So these, remember, we're pretending we had these all signed. These are all going to be your final documents that you want to submit. Did I do the new list info sheet? I didn't. So let me go ahead and add a new list info sheet really quickly. And then I can go down and grab it. But let's say we don't have a lead-based paint because this house was built before or after 1978. So we don't have a lead-based paint. You're going to go to tasks over here, and some of these tasks you will be able to delete, and those are the tasks where you may need the document or you may not need the document. So affiliated business disclosure as an agent, you can't delete it. But if you don't need your lead-based paint, let me do that again. You're going to click on it, and then you're going to say, you're going to open it like this, and you're going to come up to this little action tab, and you're just going to delete. So now when you go back to documents, you can see that lead-based paint no longer appears over here, so you don't need it. I'm going to add the HMS. No, I already did add the HMS. There it is. Okay. So now I have all of my red documents filled with actual documents, and all I need to do is come up here to Actions and say Submit Task List. And I'm going to cancel out right now because I see I have a question. Can we just add this as we start a transaction and use it as a checklist, or does this need to be done just before we submit? You can add task lists at any point. That's going to be a personal preference. So yes, you could come in here to a new transaction and add all the task lists that you want for that transaction and use it as a checklist. Either way, whatever your preference is. Okay, so I'm going to, again, to submit this task list to the office, I'm going to go ahead and submit task list. Here's where you can add comments like, please don't put in BLC until 3 o'clock today, and then go ahead and hit submit. Okay, now I'm going to jump into my manager account. Oops. So that I can approve that task list. Which obviously you agents will not be able to approve your own task lists. But for LCs, if I go over here and I go to task lists, now that should appear. So as a manager, I see this is what I need to review. So I would go in, I would click these documents that need review, and I would go ahead and up here, I'm going to hit review. Now, I have to look at these documents before I can review them, so I can view them here. Excellent. And then I can keep scrolling down to view these, making sure the agents filled everything out correctly. Hopefully that did it. Okay. Okay. So hopefully I have viewed all the documents now as the manager, and I can go ahead and approve these. And now I'm going to jump back into my agent account and refresh my browser. Now I can see that all of these documents are indeed approved. So that is, oh, I see a question. Will we ever have the ability to go from document to document seamlessly without opening and closing each one? Hopefully, yes, we will have that ability. What I have asked them for is that bulk open that we have in Docusign, or I mean in .loop, so that you can click all of the boxes and open them all as one. Hopefully that happens. Okay, so we're in our agent account. We have gone ahead and we have submitted this for review, or we've gotten all our documents back. And now we have a price change. So what do we do if we have a price change? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add a document. Oops, sorry, I'm in my tasks, so I need to be in my documents. I'm going to add a document that's going to be an addendum. Okay. Now, for all amendments and addendums, you are going to attach the task list for either list side or buy side. That is amendment or addendum, and you're going to attach it. Now, here's the tricky thing about task lists. Since this listing task list is all approved, as an agent, I can't add anything to that now. That is considered it kind of locked. I can't add to it. I can't resubmit it. It is what it is. So for addendums and amendments, you will submit the documents, but not the entire task list. Okay? So you will, we're going to pretend that that addendum is all signed. So when you move a document from here to here, you are submitting that document for review at the document level. So now if I hop into my LC account and I go to tasks, I can see that because I'm also a manager, it's telling me that I've already completed it. So now if I come back as an agent, indeed, I see the green check mark that this has been approved, and then you know that that's been processed. So if you have an addendum or an amendment that needs processing ASAP, again, I would go ahead and text or email or pick up the phone and let my LC know that that needs immediate attention. Okay? You can collapse these down to make it a little bit easier, or you can open them to make this organization a little bit easier. Okay, so you would just continue through the transaction, you guys, through the pending, through the inspections, and through the closings. At the end, when this transaction is doing the closing, I would go ahead and come back here to actions, and now I would submit my addendum or amendment task list. And then that lets your LC know that everything is complete on this file. So I'm going to hop back into my manager account. I'm going to go back to tasks. Oh, sorry. If I'm in tasks, I have completed it. Yeah. So I'm going to review the task list and go ahead and approve that. Okay. Now I'm going back to my agent account, and let's say this is all closed, and now I'm ready to submit it to the LCs as I'm done with this transaction. I'm just going to submit the transaction for review, and I'm going to give the reason why I'm done with this transaction. So either the listing expired, I lost the listing, I lost the buyer, the offer was rejected, but for right now we're going to say this was successful and we're going to submit it. Question. Are we as LCs able to create task lists for the agents in their transactions? No. All of the task lists for the time being will go through me. Eventually, agents will be able to submit their own task lists. What you can do, Angela, is add a task to the general task list, and I'll show you how to do that in 1 second. Okay, so as the agent, I have submitted this entire transaction. I'm going to hop into my manager account. And I am going to do something. No. This is not my branch manager account. Give me 1 second. Okay, this is my manager account. Okay, so I'm going to go to transaction rooms. This one needs review. I'm going to go ahead and approve the transaction. Oh, 1 second. Okay, I'm going to approve the transaction. Everything's all good. So now I'm going to jump. This is our agent account. And now when I go back to my transaction room, I can see that this is a closed transaction. So if I go to my transactions, it doesn't appear under active anymore. It appears under closed. Now, in this transaction that has now been closed, I can send documents out of this. So if my seller needs their HUD, I can go back in here and reshare that, resend out that HUD, but I can't add anything to this anymore. You see the little lock. Basically, all I can do is share documents out of this transaction now that it's been closed. Okay? And I have no active transactions. Oh, which means I can't show you how to add a task. Let me quickly start a new transaction really quickly. Okay. So now, again, you can add these task lists at any time. So we're going to go ahead and add a listing task list. But say I have a task that I want to add to this listing task list, I can add either to the listing task list or to the general task list. I can add a task. So say as the agent even, I want to remind myself to order photography. Okay, so I can, if I don't have a document attached to it, that's fine. I am the assignee, which means I'm the one that needs to do the task. And I can even add an automatic reminder. So I could say on December 24th, remind me that I need to set a reminder. Or I could say, you know, from the listing date, 3 days after the listing date, that's when this task is due. So I could add that to that task list. What you can't do yet, for right now, for each individual transaction, you have to add those in. What we're working on with Docusign is having those come in with every like listing. Like if you're, you know, Larry Lister, and you want those same tasks to come over with every single transaction, we're working on a way for that to happen. That's probably, again, a couple months down the road, but we think we'll get there. So right now, I'm going to open it up for questions. What questions do you have for me? Okay, I'm not seeing any questions come in. So here's what I would suggest. I would suggest you take some of your old transactions, rename them to have test in the name. Remember, you don't want your LCs to reprocess these. But take some of your old transactions and just put them in here. Name them test, submit them through, play with it. Let me show you also, if you go to hover over yourself and down to support, this is a fantastic library of articles and information about how to do things. I would definitely take some time and play around in here, see what you can learn here. There are tons of videos you can watch, which are amazing. Yeah, so spend some time there. And then if you have your phone handy, what I would do right now is add Docusign support. That phone number is 866-219-4318. So 866-219-4318 is the phone number for Docusign support, and you have to enter in this account number. So in the notes section, I would add account number 2830-1770. So if you are in Docusign, that account number is right here. We're asking them to add it to Docusign support so that that account number also appears over here, but right now it does not. So make sure you have a note of 2830-1770. That account number is what lets them know that we have a premium support level, so your calls will get answered a lot faster than if you just go into the general queue. Okay, I see some questions popping up. Can we start blank transaction packets without names for when we do have a live transaction we want to start? I think you have to enter a name. I think you have to do that. But you could try, you could test it. I do think you have to add a name, but I guess I'm not sure on that, Angie. But if you want to test it and let me know, that'd be awesome. Or you could just, you can change the name of a transaction. Yeah, you can change the name of a transaction at any time just by going, so if this is the transaction 846 test lane, If I go to details, well, I thought details, maybe up here. You can change it, but I'm going to have to get back to you on how to do that. So I thought it was under details, but it's not. You can change it though. Oh, you guys might be wondering how to split PDFs or combine PDFs. And this is a pretty big change. So if you had some documents down here, some PDFs in particular, let me see if my inbox ever showed up. They did not show up yet. Okay. So let's say that I'm in a transaction room and I had some, I think I'm going to have to actually add a PDF. And I also did not show you how to put a document right into this transaction room. So to put a document into this transaction room, you need this ID number right here, this pound 465775. So let me find a PDF that isn't huge. Okay, so let's say I want this PDF to go into that specific transaction room. I'm going to delete out this forward and I'm just going to put that pound 465775 in the subject line. That tells it to go into this transaction room. So I'm going to go ahead and send that, and then it might take a second or two for it to show up. So let me show you that again while we're waiting for that document. If you want to get a document from your email into your transaction room instead of into your inbox, you're going to use this the pound 465775. You're going to go to your email where that document is. You're going to hit forward. You're going to enter that email address that is for Docusign. And then in the subject line, you're going to add that pound 465775. Okay. Let me quickly add a zip form document. So remember, right now it's making me create that zip form transaction room so that I can get those documents. And I'm going to add the listing contract so that it's multiple page. Okay, so now I've got a listing contract. This is now a zip form document. Zip form documents themselves cannot be combined or split. But if you need to do something like that with a zip form document, drag it up onto your task list, because see, that turns it into a PDF. Then you can just drag it back down, and now you have your PDF and you have your working zip forms copy. So now that I have the PDF, once I click a document, if I scroll up, I have copy, email, combine, or download. So if I wanted to combine this document with another document, I would simply just go ahead and have the two documents here, give them a new document name and hit save, and then those two documents would become one document. And usually the split is right up here as well. I'm not sure where it's gone today, but if you wanted to split a PDF, usually there's an icon right up here that allows you to split it. Well, oh, I'm wrong. When you want to split a PDF, you actually have to open it. And if you click here, this little icon right here lets you rename a document. You can edit, you can split it, you can move it to a folder, you can make a copy, you can email it, fax it, download it, or print it. So this is where you would split a PDF that needs to be split up. You can also assign this document to a task list from in here. You can see the activity that has happened on this document. You can see who has access to the document, and you can give people access if you need to, or take it away. Now, obviously, the LCs, you can't take away their access, but that is what you would do there. You can see it as a thumbnail if there's multiple pages, or you can see it one at a time, and then you can close that document. So that's how you handle editing, splitting a PDF. Questions on that? I think the combine feature is very cool. And as a matter of fact, let me just add the task list for pending, because I want to show you for our placeholders for list side pending. You can see that we have one placeholder for your purchase agreement and all counters. So you would combine those. If, oh, here's some of our documents. So let's say this is purchase agreement and this is counter offer 1. I could click both of these documents, and I could come up here and I could combine them, and I could say purchase agreement with all counters. I can save it, and now you see I have a purchase agreement document with all of the counters that I could drag up and put up here with purchase agreements with all counters. So we're doing that for also inspections. So you'll take all of your inspection responses down here, you'll combine them into one document, and you will submit them that way. Any questions on that process? Okay. Any questions at all? That's what I have for you guys today then. Thanks for coming. LCs, if you want to stick around for just a couple of minutes, I can take separate questions from you guys. But other than that, thanks for joining me today and have a great day. Okay, LCs, do you have any questions for me? All right. Thanks for attending, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and end the session, but let me know further on if you have more questions. Have a great day.